Alright, so here's a video on the takedown and reassemble of my M44 Mosin Nagant. First you want to take your bolt out. When you slide it back, it's going to lock. That's your trigger. You pull your trigger, it'll slide right out. Take your spring and all that good stuff out. Then up front you got two rings that are held on by little springs. You got to push down on the springs and slide the rings over them. Just slide all the way to the front and off. And your little piece of wood will come off here. Then in the bottom of your receiver, you got one screw that's got to come out. Just a little screw. Then underneath of where your bolt would be in the back of the receiver is another screw that's got to come out. Fairly longer bolt. And then after that, everything will drop right out of the bottom. Your mag well, trigger guard. And then you can take and pull your barrel and receiver and all that right out of your stock, right out of the top. Then there you have that. That's all you got left to your stock besides your steel butt plates, just held on by two screws, one in the top, one in the back. These screws are hard to get out because they are locked in pretty good. Just a nice wood screw in there. Then the one in the back's the same way. One more, they're both the same size, about an inch. And your butt plate pops right off. And you just got your regular wood right behind there. Take your bayonet off. It's just one single screw, one little flat head. Pops right out, and you got your clamp that slides over the barrel, your big spring, and then of course your bayonet. And then if you want to take your rings off, you just gotta spread them. They're clamped on one side. You gotta spread them open and they pop right off. Then inside you got your trigger release. This will hold your shells or your bullets down inside of your mag well until you rack another one and it releases it. You got one pin that you slide out to drop your whole trigger, and then here's your spring that locks it in. You drop your trigger out. The only thing else to take off is your rear iron sight. Let's see if I got something I can punch it out with here. Alright, well I ain't got nothing small enough to punch this out. But all it is just a single pin you drive out and it pops right off. People say the little metal spring deal that's underneath of there will come flying out when you pop that off. That's not true. I've taken mine off a couple times and it stands up. You just got to push back down on top of it to get your pin to line back up. Nothing serious. But then of course to reassemble it, you just got to do everything that you just did, just do it backwards. You put your trigger back in. The hardest thing here is to make sure everything lines back up and you can put everything back together real nice and smooth. Unlike what I did, just put the trigger in backwards. Just that little pin that holds your trigger back in. And you got the screw. Like I said, it's the spring that gives you your tension so you don't have your creep and all that. Now you want to put your barrel back inside of the stock. You can't really put this on wrong. Everything fits where it should be. Just make sure your rings are slid all the way forward so they're not wedged underneath your barrel. You take and slide your mag well and trigger guard back up inside the stock. Then you got your one bolt that runs back down through the top, one that runs back up through the bottom. And tighten them back up. Tighten one back up in the back of the receiver. Then after that you can put your barrel cover back on the top part of your stock. Slide your rings all the way. See if you can see it here. Slide your rings all the way back down. The front one will lock back in. The back one will lock back in. Then they won't move after that without you having to push the little clips back in and make them slide all the way back up again. Then you can put your spring back in for your magazine or mag well. Put your butt plate back on. Tighten them right back down.